in business with Facebook ads or any ads platform if you're not able to understand your numbers and read the data. So that's one of the things that I definitely want to look at, just to give you a very candid, transparent look at my ads. Not all of them are winners, and show you exactly what that looks like and how I'm judging my ads. And you know, some of you may be surprised. It's still the same as what's in Dropship Academy. I'll refer to that a lot. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull out the notes that I use in Dropship Academy when explaining Facebook ads and testing stuff, because that's really still the same for me. I really still follow the same process, and so I'm going to cover that. We have a lot of new people in the group, I know, as well. So people who may not have the context of having watched some of my ads videos, what I'm going to try to do is sum up the process of what I've been doing. And really the whole goal here is to show you how in 1 week you can take a store from, so basically this was looking at, so this day that this actually happened, because I posted this yesterday, and it was a sales snapshot of the day before. So this picture is actually representing the last day of April 30th. And it just so happened, the way that it timed out, that this was the last week of April that I was doing this. And so from April 23rd, I believe, was the Sunday before, April 23rd to April 30th, I was able to take a store that was at $0, a new store, a new set of ads starting at $0, and scale that to $1,300 in sales on this day here. All right, and then my sales actually dropped a little bit on Monday, which I don't know if that had anything to do with my ads at all. I think that might have just, yesterday just seemed like a really off day when it came to Facebook, because it didn't spend as much money, like it didn't spend all my budgets on most of my campaigns, and you know, I was getting less traffic, so less traffic equals less sales. So, you know, you're going to have off days. But all right, so here's what I really want to do before we get right into it. Okay, I want to, you know, I'm going to be going over, and hold on, let me pull something up really quickly. So for any of you that know me, my goal is to deliver a ton of value in these videos, and what I really want to be able to do here is really just some clarity, I guess. Just give you guys some clarity. I know one big thing I know a lot of people are probably waiting to see in this is the manual bidding strategy that I mentioned, because manual bidding is hot right now for some reason. I don't know why. People, it's kind of like one of those grass is greener things. People always want to know what's on the other side of the fence and think that's going to be the secret. But look, I want to start and preface all of this, all of what we're about to go into, okay? I'm going to jump around a little bit because this is just impromptu training here, there. You know, I've planned it out and I know what I want to talk about, but at the same time, this is really just meant to give you guys an inside look at what I was able to do here, all right? So, but the first thing that I need you to understand is that product is always king, all right? I had some people in the comments yesterday that were acting like this is a strategy that's going to make it so no matter what your product is, if you know how to scale or if you know how to do what I'm doing here, that it's going to start equaling money for you. And I know that can be really frustrating as e-commerce entrepreneurs, because we look at a product, we think it has all the signs, we think it's an amazing product, and so we assume that if we find the right ad strategy that we're going to start making sales and we're going to start making money. But I need everybody to really like listen and pay attention to this part right here, okay? Because any seasoned, any successful e-commerce entrepreneur who's been consistent in the game is going to tell you that product to audience match is everything, all right? It really doesn't matter. You could have the best scaling strategy in the world. You could get the minds of the top e-commerce guys out there and put them all together and come up with the most perfect targeting and scaling strategy ever. But if you don't have a winning product, if your product doesn't already have those viral elements of selling a lot to the audience that you're targeting, it's not going to matter. None of this bidding strategy, none of these, it's not going to matter. You can't force sales, okay? I guess that's what I'm getting at here, is you can't force sales. And some of you guys are out there thinking that, you know, oh, if I just had the right formula, or if I just had the right secrets and tricks and tips that these other guys are using, and that's really not it. Like, yes, on the one hand, you can make a lot more money. You can be a lot more efficient. You can do a lot better with your products when you know the systems and strategies of people that have spent thousands of, hundreds of thousands of dollars on Facebook ads to learn how the platform works and have studied all the courses out there. And like I have, and, I curate that knowledge and that content for you so you know what to do. But at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, no matter what, the most important thing is that you're going to have a product that is a winner. All right. And there's different levels of winning products too. I want to mention this. These are such important things to go over before we really get into the ads here, is that some products are not going to scale at a high level. And I'm going to show you that as an example with ads that I have running right now, that there are products that I understand are probably not going to scale at a high level. The products that are going to scale at a high level generally, all right, are going to be ones that start off with a really low cost per purchase. Okay. And here's the reason that, in my opinion, it works this way. Again, I'm giving you my opinion, one perspective, having spent over $100,000 last year on ads and spent over, $15,000, $20,000 on courses and studying stuff, and just my own knowledge as an entrepreneur with over $1.5 million in sales in the last 3 years online. And what I can tell you is that some products are going to sell, but they're not going to be something that you can really scale to, thousands and thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. All right. And some of you are running into that challenge right now, and there's no way to know. All right. You don't know. E-commerce is so subjective based on whatever audience you're targeting, but you just have to realize, I've hit this before. I've had many products that, you get that first sale and you get excited. You start getting a couple more sales and you're getting more excited, and you start to think that you have a really, a product that you could scale and make a lot of money off of. And that may be true, but, two things are going to matter. Number one is, how viral is that product? Like, how hot is it? How much is the audience really, really buying? And then number two, the thing that's going to matter is, how big is your audience? I mean, these two things combined together are really what make the scalability of a winning product. Because if it's not a super passionate audience that is just like, your cost per purchase right from the get-go is good because you just know you have a passionate product. And think about this, you're targeting precise audiences in the beginning. So your test run when you're targeting a precise audience should be a low cost per purchase. There might be some people out there thinking, well, Nick, I'm getting it started. Can't my cost per purchase drop over time? Yeah, that's true. But generally, all right, generally what I've seen, okay, and spending, again, some people have spent more money, some people have spent less. But for me personally, I think I'm very qualified to speak at spending $100,000 last year on Facebook ads and having a lot of winners and generating over $500,000 in sales, and being able to tell you that I have not ever seen in my personal experience where the cost per purchase starts out high and gets lower the longer I run the ad. Okay. It always starts out the lowest for me. And that's because the strategy that I'm using. So if you're using the same strategy, it's going to be the same deal, is that I start out with my most precise audience. All right. I'm starting with my most precise audience. And so my test results initially when I'm running those conversion ads should be good. If it's going to be, chances are it's not going to come down much lower. It might come down a little bit, but in my experience, it's never been anything dramatic where like it starts out at $10 and then comes down to $5. Like, that just doesn't happen. All right. If it's a winner, it's going to be a winner right out of the gate, basically 99% of the time. All right. And if it's a good winner, a winner that's going to be highly scalable, it's going to show the signs of coming out of the gate with a low cost per purchase, and, a large audience size to be able to scale into. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that some of you guys are taking notes here, especially new people, because even though I know I've just been talking and we're not looking at anything yet, this is really important stuff before I even get into the numbers. Okay. Number two, all right, that was all to kind of preface you about product to audience match and how important your product is. Remember, there is no strategy out there in the world that is going to be more important than your actual product. Finding winning viral products is the baseline of everything we do. All right. Next thing I need to preface is just to say that understand that what I'm doing and what I'm showing you is, yes, by standing on my shoulders and using my experience and me breaking it down exactly how I show you is giving you a shortcut, all right? But also understand that your learning curve may be a lot different than mine. I don't want you guys to compare yourself to me or your stores to mine, just like I don't compare my stores to people doing better than me, right? We're all just looking for information to be able to do the best we can with our own business, and that's really what it should be. So the fact that I took a store from $0 to $1,300 in a day, in a week, doesn't necessarily mean that's what you're going to do, because I've been doing this for a while. It's very inherent to me at this point. I just do it. So, but what I'm going to show you can give you the same tools and the same abilities to be able to scale like this. It may not happen in a week. Maybe it takes you 2 weeks or something, but whatever. It's not meant to compare. All right. We're not meant to compare our journeys to other journeys. The only person that you're comparing to and trying to do better than every day is the person you see in the mirror. That's really how it should be. All right. So with that being said, with those notes out of the way, I want to jump into the ads here. I want you to notice, one thing I never do is make those claims, income disclaimers about how my results aren't typical, because you know what, my results may not be typical, but the truth is that you can absolutely get these results if you do what I do. And so I am showing you information that will absolutely make you money. And I guarantee that if you have all the right elements that I've already spoken about, winning product, winning targeted audience, large enough in size to scale, then yes, what I'm about to show you can absolutely make you a lot of money. All right. So we're going to switch over here to my ads manager, and I want you to see that I already have it set looking at the period that we're looking at. All right. Yesterday, I already told you, I think my sales dropped a little bit yesterday. It was kind of a funny day because a couple things happened, which I'll show you. Number one, I accidentally messed up one of my big manual bidding ads. I didn't realize I was looking at it while I was kind of half sleepy still in the morning, and one of my best performing ones, and I messed it up, and then it wasn't running for half the day, and so that really drained a lot of my sales. And then I had one manual bidding ad that didn't spend any money at all yesterday. It was really weird. So there are a couple things that I'm still understanding, but because of those two big incidents, and then Facebook just not really spending my budgets yesterday for some reason, my sales did drop from 1,300 to about 800 yesterday, and then today they're already pretty good. Today my sales, right now, actually I'm getting sales while I'm making this video, but today I think they're already up around 150, which for 8 a.m. in the morning, on pace for $1,000 a day. So, which is really, I guess the headlining of this is that, you can be getting to these $1,000 days in a week when you have winning products and you look at scaling the way I'm going to show you. All right. So that's the period we're going to look at for this case study, because that's really what this is about, is showing you how I went from $0 to $1,300 in a week. All right. And, we're going to look at the overall strategy, and we're really going to break all this down. It's probably going to be an in-depth video. It's going to be kind of lengthy. Some of this stuff might be kind of nerdy, but at the same time, this is money. At the end of the day, remember that all these numbers, all these little digits here that we're looking at equal money in your pocket. But actually, one more thing before we get into this that I want to talk about is that money in your pocket part. It wasn't really an argument, but we had a couple people comment on one of my posts the other day trying to correct me on profit and trying to correct me on how much money you really get to keep at the end of the day. And, just kind of saying some silly things really, because they should know at this point that I know what I'm talking about. But, here's the deal. And I came up with, I think in my own mind, I came up with a really good understanding of this in response to what this one guy said. The reason that I show profit and I talk about profit is not only because, of course, you need to know the ad success. I mean, there's some people out there that are like, well, they think people are just spending money on Facebook to rack up sales and not make any money. Like, whatever, I don't know. But the reason that profit is important for me is that it's cash flow. All right. Cash flow is everything in your business. And so when I talk about profit, when I talk about money that you're making back in return, I'm not talking about taxes. I don't care about the taxes. I don't care about the pre-tax profit. I don't care about, the overhead and what people think that they know about running a business and overhead, because everybody's business is different. Your life looks different than my life. Your lifestyle is different. So, at the end of the day, yes, do I do really well on my taxes and keep just about all of my money? Absolutely. I paid I shouldn't even say it out loud, but believe me, my tax bill, I barely paid anything in taxes last year. All right. And that's just because I understand how to do it. Now, as your income grows, that gets harder to do. But, when you're making under $1 million a year, it's pretty easy to be able to balance your taxes out correctly so that as an entrepreneur, you're keeping most of it at the end of the day. And then the second point is that, all this stuff about pre-tax profits, all of that is nonsense because I'm just reinvesting this money right back into my business anyway. Okay. I'm not, at the end of the day, the lifestyle is important, right? And you guys have seen that. I think that I'm very transparent about that. This can fuel an amazing lifestyle where you're living free, you're working part-time, you get to travel when you want to, do what you want to, eat the food you want to, and that kind of thing. Like, that is absolutely true, but that's not necessarily the goal. I think the goal is the freedom and the financial security and the cash flow, because the more cash flow you have, the more opportunity you have, the more leverage you have to do other things, invest in other businesses, invest in other affiliate opportunities or traffic opportunities or whatever it is. Once you have money, online marketing becomes not necessarily more easy, but more simple, because money is generally one of the biggest problems that people have in getting started online. All right. So this is just meant to, the profit is not meant to be an argument about what you actually keep at the end of the day with taxes and all that nonsense. It's more meant to be just, this is the cash flow you're building for your business. And so when you do something like this and you can scale like this, this is able to, when you add it all up together, this 1,300 plus the 2,000 I had done prior leading up to that in that week, $3,300 in sales in a week, that generates an additional $1,000 plus in cash flow for the business moving into the next week that you can reinvest. And the larger that cash flow grows, the larger your investment power is to continue growing and scaling your business. All right. So I hope that makes sense. I know we just did, 20 minutes of kind of preface and intro and talking, but all of that stuff is so important, guys. One of the biggest problems in e-commerce and online marketing right now is people giving out information with no context. All right. The context is so important in the information that you get when it comes to any online business, because there's so many variables and nuances. And so you need to understand everything that I just went over before you look at these numbers, because if you don't understand everything I just went over, these numbers aren't going to help you. If you do understand it, then these numbers absolutely are going to help your business, and I'm excited to get into it. You can see that I've spent $1,500 in that period of time. And then, like I said, I just said that it was 1,300 and, well, it was 1,300 in sales on that day. I guess I don't know what it was total throughout the whole week. I'd have to go back and look. I know I posted about it. But anyway, I've been monitoring my profit margin. I know that on this day in particular, I was at 40% profit margin. I was at like 42%. This was good because I have a really good margin on my products. And then, for the rest of the week, I know I was at least 30%. So we'll just call it 35. All right. And get into the numbers now. So now remember, we're looking at just this time period the whole time. So you can see there's a lot of stuff that I was testing, guys. Anything, when you look at a time period in Facebook, anything that is actually, showing up as money spent in that time period, then, you're seeing all the stuff that I tested. So you can see going all the way down here to how many ads I actually tested and why my ad budget was a little bit higher. All right. Probably about $300 to $400 of this was simply testing products. Some of it was PPE ads. I still set up all my PPE ads first and then move from there. Which is here. All right. let me try to bring this in. I have the screen sized the way I have it sized because I'm not showing you guys my audiences or my products in this video. The reason I haven't actually gone into my store and shown you that is the same thing. I'm keeping this store secret. This is not a bold and social type deal. This is an actual store that I'm making actual income from, you know, the type of income that fuels my business and that I live off of, and so I'm keeping it to myself. All right, but you can see the strategy here. This is still what I do. All right, I still do this exact same thing that test almost every one of my ads, and the reason I still start with a PPE campaign no matter what is just because I guess I like to do it that way. All right, when I start with my audience, it's still the same exact reason. Now, PPE ads haven't been pushing as many sales for me as they used to, but I still do it this way because I like to test my interest with a PPE campaign because I feel like your feedback loop is a lot shorter, meaning that when you run a PPE campaign, you know within the first dollar if you hit the right audience, because if you're under 10 cents per engagement, in the first dollar, you hit the right audience, right? Like, it's that simple. If you're not, then you know you hit the wrong audience. Like, you can get a feedback loop so quickly with a PPE ad, and it's never wrong. So now it may not necessarily mean that it's a buying audience, but that's why you can switch over really quickly. All right, if I only spend $1 or $2 on a PPE campaign, and then I switch it over to a conversion, you know, I spend $1 or $2 to test the audience real quick and get a bunch of likes and shares and comments on that post. So it still works for the same exact reason. I use it to get some social proof on the ad. I use it to try to get some sales, prove the product. When I'm very first launching into a new niche or a new pixel, I do use it to collect data. Once you've had a store running for a little bit, that's not really as important, but you know, mostly it's that social proof, and I'm willing to spend $2, $3, up to $5 on a product, because if it becomes a winning product, then, you know, it's just all, again, I've explained this in my other videos, but it's all about money in versus money out. And so I look at my overall ad account per store on a daily basis as two views. I look at the campaign and the ad set level to see how a certain individual ad set is performing on that product, right? Because that's important, looking at the micro view. But then I also look at the macro view. I also just look at my overall ad account, how much money's going in every day and how much money's coming out, because I know on any given day I'm going to be testing products that may not be winners. And so I want to have built-in revenue coming in that's covering the testing that I'm doing. All right. And that's the way that I look at it. In the beginning, your goal is to just get a winning product or two to start having a balance where you might just be breaking even until you start to scale, and then you're making some money, but you're still testing, so you're losing money. But you want to continue testing because you want to eventually get to multiple products. All right, I have multiple products running. Yes, there are situations where you can scale one product and make a lot of money, and that's cool, but those are one-hit wonders. I like to get multiple products running, and that's how I'm able to generate consistent revenue month over month with stores, new stores, old stores, whatever it is, because you just get multiple products running at the same time and you get yourself into a cycle. All right. All right, I'm not going to go over this whole thing because this is all in there, but generally, you know, I'm going over it in just a little detail because it's still the same way I look at my ads. All right, people are asking all the time, and I just think that maybe they haven't seen this or they haven't actually watched the video, but I still do it the exact same way. All right, I judge my PPE ads, of course, by my cost per engagement. And likes don't matter at all. You know, you're really just looking for the cost per engagement to being low, under 10 cents. And then you're looking for a lot of comments and shares to know you have, and tags, people tagging people to know you have a winning product. And then you know when to kill a PPE ad. Basically, everybody always wants to know, when do I switch over to a conversion ad? All right. Now, again, you can start with a conversion ad if you want to. That's completely your prerogative. A lot of people do. I choose to start with a PPE ad for reasons I've already mentioned. Do what you want to do. All right. But when I switch over is very quickly. All right. If the PPE ad doesn't get a sale within the first $5, I'm probably switching. Because I know that the conversion ad is more likely to get sales. And so the only time I really keep the PPE ad running is if it gets a sale within the first $5 to $10. All right. If it's at $5, the cost per engagement is really low and my clicks are good on a PPE ad, then I might let it run to $10, but I'm not letting a PPE ad run past $10 because my goal is not, this needs to make sense. Okay. Even though I test a PPE ad because I want to prove the product and get some sales, my goal is not to get sales with the PPE ad. My goal is simply to get that initial push on that ad, get those likes on there, get it looking like a good ad that's going to get engagement, and then I start the conversion ad. All right, maybe that's just the way that I look at it, but that's, and that's the way that I do it because I like doing it that way. All right. And then I switch over to the conversion ad as soon as possible. As soon as I see signs that this is a product that this audience is going to want to purchase, then I'm switching over to a conversion ad. You can do it whenever you want. All right. But I'll keep the PPE ad running because it has the potential to build that social and that viral awareness around that product. All right. And it can bring in ancillary sales and all that kind of stuff. So generally $5 to $10, I'm keeping the PPE ad running. If it's getting sales, I'll let it run longer than that. If it's getting great clicks and the cost per engagement is like 2 cents or 1 cent, I'll let it run and just, factor it into my overall cost on that product. All right. And then when I do switch over, I'm generally switching over to a website conversion ad to the same exact audience because I know that audience is a good audience. And I'm usually starting with an add to cart purchase conversion. Now, if it's a brand new niche and a brand new pixel, brand new store, then a lot of times I'll start to a view content and work my way up after I've had after I've started getting some clicks, right? After I've had 20, generally your conversion level is 25. So if I'm running a view content ad and I get 25 clicks in 2 days, then I can move to an add to cart because Facebook's optimized at that level for the view content. So I don't need to keep optimizing for it, okay? All right. Now let's get into actually looking at some data. And again, I know I mentioned this before, but I hope everybody's still with me. I hope you're finding this information, you're not taking that information there for granted. Some people are probably like, man, just get to the meat and potatoes, Nick. I want to see the numbers and, but that stuff is so important that we just talked about for really understanding the context of these numbers and why they are the way they are. All right. So let's start with some losers first and look at why I've killed ads, especially ads that even have a purchase. These are good ones to look at because, I know a lot of people are always like, well, I got a purchase, should I scale it? Not necessarily. All right. Now, this was a lookalike audience. Okay. I'm just picking out ads randomly. Some of them, so they were all new products. They were all new audiences, but it's not hard to get a lookalike audience if you're running a successful ad that, gets a few sales or not necessarily. I mean, you can get 100 clicks within your first $15. I mean, if you're getting a CPC of like 15 to 20 cents, then you can get that 100 clicks, really quickly. Or even, 50 cents. You can get that clicks really quickly and then you can build yourself a lookalike audience. It's not going to be the strongest lookalike audience at only 100 clicks, but, then you can start testing that lookalike if you want to. If your original audience is small or just not really something that you can scale into, like if you have a product where it's running good at $10, but you try to put it to 15 and it doesn't work. All right. We're going to talk about that. But lookalikes are a good way that you can get around that because they give you a bigger audience that you can scale into and a lot of times a little bit more targeted. This time wasn't though. So as you can see when we're looking here, all the stats on this look good. All right, let's look at delivery. I look at CPM a lot now because if your CPM is low, it's generally a good indicator that you can keep that ad running. And of course, if your if your CPM is low, then everything's cheaper. All right. So it's easier to test ads on a CPM that's low because it's going to be cheaper to test that ad. You're reaching more people quicker, right? So I had a great CPM on this. Cost per engagement was low. CPC was low, great link clicks, but I only had one purchase. All right. So, what do you do at $16.95 spent, but only one purchase? Well, for me, I turned it off because generally with my website conversion ads, I want to have a purchase by $10 spent or I'm turning it off. And then if I do get a purchase by $10 spent, I want another one by 15. All right, because my goal is not really, to get a purchase every $10. My goal is usually to get a purchase every $5 to $8, depending on the product and the price. But these products are not priced high. These are in the range of $17 to $20 plus $4.95 shipping. So these are products that I want my cost per purchase to be low. I want it to be $5. And so if I'm not getting a purchase every $10, then with my CPM that low and my CPC this good, then it's just not, for some reason, it's not aligning. And so I turn that ad off. I'm not going to keep wasting my time with it. Let's look at another one that was like that. Here's one that was an engagement ad that got a purchase, but the CPC was horrible, right? So, with this one, I looked at it and I said, I'm not getting a lot of link clicks. I'm getting a good cost per engagement, and I got a purchase at a good price. Within the first $7 spent, I had a purchase, but my CPC is way too high. It's up over $2, and I like my CPC to generally be under $1 by the time I'm this far into running my ad. So I shut it off because that one purchase could have just been a lucky purchase. And I don't want to keep running this ad when the CPC is not showing the signs of a product that is going to be winning, right? And so I switched it over to a conversion ad is what I did at this point, because I know that on a conversion ad I'll be getting a much better CPC. So I figured, all right, for some reason the CPC is not showing good here, but I am getting my good cost per engagement. I did get a purchase. Let's switch it over to a conversion ad. So I want you to see, guys, I'm going to take you through the whole process of what I did here. But when I got started, all right, so when I started on that Sunday, these were all new ads that were launched, all right? And if you look at, I got to go back and try to find this picture because it had a really good screenshot in it. Here it is. If you look at this picture, 2,800 I had made plus that 1,300, so that took it to 4,300, almost $4,500 in sales. On that 1,500 ad spend, so $3,000 left over, probably about 1,500 cost of goods, so about 1,500 profit on that, because my margins are really nice. Product margins are so important when it comes to that. Your job advertising is so much easier if you find products with good margins. Not always going to happen, but when you do, it's beautiful. As you can see here, though, when I started, I wasn't spending much on ads. Even here, I wasn't spending much because I started just everything at a $5 or $10 test budget. All right, ads that I'm a little bit more confident in just based off my research and the product that I think are going to do well, I started a $10 budget. Most of my stuff, I started a $5 budget. I start them all as PPE ads, and then I switch them over to conversion ads. So as you can see, these first 2 days, this day here was just about all this day here was just about all PPE ads, okay? And then some of them, because I was in a hurry, I switched over to conversion ads really quickly. Like, I saw they were doing okay. Maybe they got a sale that first day. They got a lot of engagement, and they were getting clicks, and I was like, all right, boom, let's switch them over, because now they have, sometimes I'm just looking for a little bit of engagement on those ads that gives them a little bit of social proof, and then I launch that conversion ad immediately, because I just feel like the conversion ads perform better off the get-go if they have some social proof on them. Again, my personal opinion. All right, so, and then here we started to get some sales. Like, you can see, though, these first 4 days, really in here, I'm still figuring it all out. Here, the sales jumped a little bit, which I mean, that's probably just because I launched a bunch of new ads this one. I started like with half of my ads on the 23rd, and then I was like switching some over here and launching more ads, and then launching more ads the 25th. And then here, things like by the time I got to here, I had had 2 to 3 days of testing on most of my stuff. So I had seen what ads were performing well. And then going into the 27th, some of them I scaled, they were auto bid, and I added $5 to the budget. Some of them is when I opened up my manual bidding budgets here, and then I was able to scale that hard. But that's important to look at as we go through here, because the first 4 days was really just testing. Yeah, I was making sales and I was profitable, but I was really just testing. I was spending heavily on ads in these first 4 days compared to the sales that I was getting, because I was getting stuff out there and seeing what was going to work. I launched like 25 products at the same time, or within this 3-day span here, I launched like 25 products. Okay. So let's keep going down here. Some of them, let's look at one I killed and have not, I don't know if I've even done this as a conversion ad yet. This was, I'd spent $5 on it, 5 cents engagement, and then, no link clicks though. So generally, what does this tell us when we're getting that? People are interested, they're passionate in the subject of whatever this post is, whatever this ad is, but they're not really buying interested. They're not a lot of people were ready to click and pull their credit card out on this. So I shut that off by $5. Right now, we're still just looking at some ads that didn't perform well. Let's look at this one. All right, you can see this. I was targeting a specific state on both of them. And then this, yeah, they were both the same thing. All right, so I tested twice, and one of them got a sale here. But you can see, like, nobody was adding the cart. So the reason I killed this one is because I got one sale, but that one sale almost looked like an anomaly, right? Like, cause I only had one add to cart. I was getting a decent, CPC, but I wasn't getting any add to carts. And so people weren't actually, that shows me like a step. It's a funnel, all right? So for those of you that are familiar with a sales funnel, the process, all right? The sales funnel is just the process people take. Just because you run a Shopify store and you're not building something on ClickFunnels doesn't mean this isn't a sales funnel. It absolutely is. Sales funnel starts with your ad, which is supposed to funnel them to the product page, which funnels them to your cart page, which funnels them through the checkout, and funnels them to your email list, right? Like that is your sales funnel. So if I'm getting a lot of traffic here, I'm getting good clicks, but I'm not getting a lot of add to carts here, then my funnel's broken. All right. Now I know it's not the product page because all my product pages look the same and a lot of my other stuff is converting well. So I just, for whatever reason, again, it's subjective. I don't necessarily know the reason that this was getting good CPC, but nobody was adding it to cart. I don't really care. Like, it doesn't matter to me. All I know is that it wasn't working, and so I'm turning it off. Okay, and I may try it again. I did try this again, actually, just to look at it and see, okay, is there any way I can tweak this, maybe target it a little better? So it's not necessarily a sign of saying give up, but at this point, I got the $13 and I still only had that one sale. If I had like 10 add to carts, I would have kept it running, but with only one add to cart, I'm not going to keep that running, okay? This one should be obvious why I killed it. My CPC was only one link click by $3 spent. That's always a sign for me to kill my ad. All right, let's look at some that didn't even get a sale. Here's an engagement ad. Again, a lot of my ads, some of them I target by state based on what I'm running right now. So this was $13 spent, 5-cent engagement, CPC. I let run a little bit longer than I should have. Shut it down because it wasn't getting sales. All right, and again, I just want to show you guys what some of these look like so you can get an idea of, just seeing how my stuff goes. All right, here is a conversion ad that was optimized for add to cart. One link click by $4, shut it down. It's just as important to know when to kill an ad as it is to know when to scale an ad. And some of you are always like, what shows me if it's a good ad or not. And generally the things I'm looking at are the CPC. Number one, I want this number to be as low as possible. I want my link clicks to be as high as possible. And I want my, obviously once you start getting purchases, you want to look at your cost per purchase. All right. So these you can see here, I killed all, these were engagement ads that I was just testing. I killed them all because link clicks were horrible here, here, and here. I should have killed these earlier, but I just let them run for 2 days without even looking at them. And then on the second day I looked at them and I saw that they were not getting any traffic at all. And so I shut them off. These traffic way too high. This no traffic, like this CPC is just awful. All right. Now here's an example of one. I want to show you that the reason sometimes I'll take a PPE and switch it over when I see that it's getting a good engagement, but I'll just switch over quickly, like if I'm in a rush, okay? So this ad here was an engagement ad, and I had spent $4.80 on it. My cost per engagement on this wasn't great. It was 8 cents. I like it. I mean, it's under 10, so that's okay, and it probably would have dropped as time goes on, but like a really viral product is generally going to be down like 3 to 1 cent. But anyway, I saw my CPC was good, and so I was thinking to myself, what is the point of running the engagement ad here? My engagement cost is really not that amazing. My CPC is good. Let's just switch this over to a conversion ad. All right, same exact audience, and when I switched it over to a conversion ad, this is the version of it as a conversion ad. All right, and so you can see here, it's the same audience. It's been running for, I just bumped it up to $10 yesterday. It's been running for 3 days, so, for probably 3.5 days. All right, so I probably started it on a half day and then let it run for 2 full days and then just bumped it yesterday to $10 because generally, like I said, even on winning ad sets, I don't touch them for 48 hours because I want to give that ad set a chance to optimize. All right, and I was getting great. My cost per purchase here is $3, and so I knew from day one I was, within that first $5 spent, I had a sale. Within the next $5 spent, I had another 2 sales, I think. So I knew right out the gate that this was a winner, but I didn't scale my ad right away. A lot of people in this group would have been tempted to just go to $10 right away as soon as they saw that sale, but I didn't because I just started that ad and I always want to give it a 48-hour period to optimize on that initial, that initial jump of getting started. So this is an auto bid. All right. This is a great example to talk about this. Okay. This is an auto bid ad that is set to add to cart. All right, so what this is here is just your basic Facebook ad. All right, a basic conversion ad set to add to cart that is just, I'm scaling at $5 every 2 to 3 days. If this cost per purchase continues to stay great through today and through tomorrow, then on another 2 days from now, I'll bump it another $5. And that's how I scale auto bid ads. All right. So when you're doing this, you really have 2 options. If you have a winning ad set, you can either one, scale it slowly, $5 every, 10, they say 20% of your budget, but until you get to like $40, 20% of your budget doesn't even equal $5. So I don't ever scale my ads by less than $5 at a time. All right. I start a lot of my ads at $5. So if it's doing well in 2 to 3 days, I'm not going to scale it by, 20% of $5 is only $1. I'm not going to scale it by $1. That's silly. All right. I scale it by 10 and then I scale it to 15 and then to 20, 25. I scale by $5 at a time until 20% of my ad budget equals more than $5. So I guess when you get to, when you get to $30 is when 20% starts to equal more. And so at that point, I'd start scaling by 20% at a time, still every 2 to 3 days and still monitoring this cost per purchase. Okay. Because what happens with an auto bid generally, the higher you start to scale, the more your cost per purchase starts to rise. And so that's why a lot of people like duplicating their ad set to a much higher daily budget with a manual bid, because it allows you to jump quickly and still keep control of your cost per purchase in a way. All right, we're going to look at that a little bit more. Okay, so this one's going to continue to run. Now, based on my audience size on this, I want to talk about something else with the manual bidding. Based on my audience size with this, I will create a new manual bid ad. All right, if I have, like with manual bidding, as long as you have an audience size of a few 100,000, I mean, you can move into it. So manual bidding is just a different way of doing auto bidding, but it works best with higher budgets. Which is generally when people use it. So as soon as you know that you're getting purchases though, and you know it's a winning ad, you can move to a manual bid. The thing is with manual bidding is it will, like when you start out with your bid, if you put it high, it's going to start spending your money quickly. So depending on how you're using it, you just want to be watching it so that you're not spending money too quickly. But what I'm going to do with this is, and again, I'm sorry, I'm not going to make the ad live in front of you because, these are audiences, and from my audience, you would be able to figure out like what I'm advertising. So anyway, what I will do, and I'll show you my manual bidding here in a minute and show you what those ad sets look like, because I'm going to duplicate this and I'll set it to $100 daily, or something like that, $100 daily manual bid. And just let that run, because I know this is a winning ad set. This is a highly engaged audience on this product. So that's awesome. All right. And, what's weird here is that my add to cart is higher than my purchase. I don't quite know how that happens. So sometimes, you got to look at your numbers, and like, obviously that's wrong. But that's how I'm going to scale this. All right, I'm going to continue to scale this at $5 at a time, but I'm also going to duplicate in the meantime and duplicate an ad set to the purchase conversion. All right, so one thing that you can do, and I'm going to show you here, let's jump into, I know a lot of you guys are waiting for this, so let's just jump into one of the manual bidding ads that I've been doing, okay? So what I end up doing, and here's a way I think, before I even go into this, I want to first say, number one, that this manual bidding strategy is just like a combination of me learning from other things out there and putting it all together. Okay. I didn't necessarily invent I didn't, of course. I didn't necessarily invent this strategy either. I've just kind of put it together based on things that I've seen. So one of the things that I do is I have my original ads. So you can see here, this is the original $15. Now, both of them are doing pretty good. All right. My profit margin on these products, again, is decent. I have like a $17 profit margin built into these items. So at a $9 cost per purchase, I'm still making, $6, $7 per item. Anyway, I had my original $15 audience, okay, which was a layered audience, as you can see. All right, it's layered based on flex targeting. So I take like a main interest, all right, and then I layer it with another main interest to get it more targeted. And then a lot of times what I can do, you can see if I have products that apply to a certain region or state, then I'll also narrow to that area as another layer of targeting. All right, and so this was optimized for purchase and is doing well. Okay, and from this ad, I was able to generate, between this and the PPE ad that came before this, I was able to generate enough clicks to make a lookalike audience. So there are a couple ways that I could have scaled this, all right, a couple options that you have, and I've been testing all of them. You could scale by duplicating this original ad set and just turning off the original afterwards. So I could have just duplicated this, kept it at the exact same, turned off the original, and then just let the duplicated manual bidding ad run, which is what a lot of people would do. For me, if I can, I like to switch to audience a little bit because I already know that it's a winning product, and so I'm already very confident in the new audience. And so I'll switch it up a little bit. That way I can keep both running, as you see here. And so what I did is I took the lookalike and created a manual bidding ad for the lookalike audience. And that way I'm able to keep both running. I didn't have to turn this original one off because they're two different audiences. All right, so... And again, remember, one thing I want to point out too, the other thing you have to remember with Facebook and these cost per purchases is number one, it doesn't catch all of them. And number two, it has been fairly accurate for me. So side note here, I've been using the Shopify integration and I think that they've come a long way because or that or Facebook has come a long way. I don't know which one it is, but it is tracking a lot better. It's fairly accurate, but it still misses when people purchase more than one item in a cart, and it still misses a few sales here and there because it only gets direct traffic. It can't get indirect traffic, and it can't calculate when there's multiple items purchased in one order. So, these cost per purchases are always going to be a little bit higher generally on winning, or lower on winning products. But even with these face value numbers here, these are still good numbers for what I'm doing. You can see the auto bid is still lower because I'm scaling it slower. I've only reached 19,000 people here at a much slower pace compared to starting here, having already reached 53,000 people in less time than this ad has been running. This ad started at $10 a day, and I let it run $10 a day probably for about 4 days in testing. I mean, you can see that it's at $70 now. So, I mean, I probably had it at $10 a day for the beginning of that week, and then I bumped it to 15. And then I just was focusing on the manual bidding ad. All right. But here's what I do when I set up these manual bidding ads. Now, this is not in the micro ad set theory because this is something new. I wasn't doing manual bidding when I wrote this, but here's what I do. All right, you want to test the website conversion ad first, and you want to test it whether it's an add to cart or purchase. This is, of course, the first step, and it's either $5 or $10 a day budget. All right, whatever you're more comfortable with. But I would say that you just want to know you have a winner. Like this here is you have a winner. Now let's look at it a little bit. I guess let's narrow it in to these first 4 days to show you what I looked at to know that I had that type of winner. All right, so you can see here, if we look at the first 4 days, that I wasn't running the manual bidding ad yet. Okay, but here's how I knew I had a winner. I had just bumped it to $15 a day, or I don't know if this is showing this because it's there now. Yeah, I wasn't at $15 a day yet because I'd only spent $18. So I had started out at 5, I guess. Maybe I did start out at 5, and then I bumped it to 10, and then I bumped it to 15 after that. But you can see here, I had only reached 4,900 people, but I already knew that this was a winner. I had 5 sales. I was at under $4 a purchase, and I had a great CPC. I had, everything was lined up across the board here. All the signs of a very, very clear winner. And then as well, if I look at my CPM was amazing. All right, under $4. So I knew that I had a winner. And then the very next day, if we look at the 27th, I duplicated and set up this manual. Was it the next day? No, I guess it wasn't. I guess it wasn't until the 28th. So there you go. It wasn't even until the 28th. So it was the day after that. It was on Friday, right? The 28th was a Friday, I believe. Yeah. That I then set up that manual bidding ad, and just immediately I started it out at that $100 daily, and that was my purchase ratio. All right. So let's go here. So if you have winner, and that's the way that I'm judging it, sales and stats. So I want it to have a great CPC, but I also want it to have sales, because the way that I'm doing manual bidding and trying to be aggressive, all right, I'm showing you guys how to scale aggressively here, is that I'm about to start a big budget and put a lot of money into it. So I want to make sure that it's a winner. So I want sales and I want consistent stats, like my engagement and my cost per click. All right, now I'm going to show you what it looks like to set up a manual bid ad and show you exactly what I was doing on these. So, hold on a second. All right, so you will come to conversions, you'll duplicate your ad, and then okay, so you'll duplicate it. And then what I've been doing with manual bidding, first of all, I'm optimizing for purchase, okay? Because I don't want to, with a manual bid with a big budget, at this point, I know I have purchases. I know the CPC is good. So there's no reason to optimize for an add to cart. I'm going right for purchase at this point. That's what I want Facebook optimizing my manual bidding for. That's what I'm bidding on. I'm not bidding on an add to cart because I don't know the value of an add to cart. I know the value of the purchase. And so I'm going straight for the purchase. All right. Okay, so let's keep going here. Not that one, this one. All right. So then, you'll set your audience, whatever your audience is going to be. A couple things in here to look at quickly is I always uncheck this, expand interest. And then when I come to edit placements, same thing as always, I put it on mobile. At the beginning of the year, I was testing just doing all devices, not Instagram, never audience network. But I was testing desktop and mobile, and same thing. Facebook still pushes all traffic to mobile. So, desktop is something that I generally leave out, and you can test that as a campaign on its own later if you want to, if the mobile's doing well. But this is what I do. Mobile only, no Instagram, no audience network. You can run these if you want to. Just do them separately. Do them as separate campaigns, because mixing all these together in one campaign, I still don't know why Facebook says it's recommended, because it's the worst way to do it. All right. And then I get rid of instant articles. I only ever run feeds. Okay. So then down here, now you can set your daily budget to whatever you want. All right. But the daily budget is really, it's going to be based on your audience size, and in my opinion. All right, so like you can see over here, the estimated conversions it'll give you out of the audience you have. For manual bidding, I mean, where I like to start is $100 for a daily budget. Now, that doesn't mean Facebook is going to spend that money, because it's based on your bid. So if your bid is right, then Facebook will spend the money and you'll be getting purchases, and you'll love having that budget. If the bid is wrong, then you won't be getting purchases and you'll shut it off. Or if the bid is too low, then you won't be getting traffic at all, and Facebook won't even spend your money. So you do have a level of protection in there, but I would, start it wherever you want. You can start at $50, but the whole point of manual bidding is to be able to go aggressive quickly. So $100 is where I would start it if you're looking to go aggressive. All right. 1 day click. Now I want to talk about the conversion window as well. Because this is something that recently I've come to understand in a different light, and I know there were some questions about it. 1 day click, okay? 1 day click, that's what we're doing, and the reason is because of your sales cycle. So what I did is I went in the Facebook Blueprint and I was reading about the conversion window, and you can even see here they give you a little blurb. But what ended up happening, I'm going to explain both sides of it. For those of you who have watched my training before, because I'm kind of updating and correcting myself from what I said in the past, is I used to think you set it for the 7-day window because, if you're running a small budget, then you might not be getting a lot of purchases in 1 day, and that, you want Facebook to optimize off of as many purchases as possible over that 7-day window. But that's actually not how it works. It's not an aggregate conversion window. What it is, I mean, it is an aggregate conversion window, but it's based on your ideal sales cycle. So what Facebook wants to know is your ideal sales cycle. What's supposed to happen in a perfect world? In a perfect world, if you set up an ad and you can have 100% success rate, what is supposed to happen? Is it supposed to be that they click and purchase within that day? If that is what your product is, that it's in the ideal situation, the ideal perfect sale that you could get is somebody clicks an ad, they see the product, they read the description, they love it, they add the cart, and then they buy it, that all in that very same sequence, then you want your conversion window set to a 1-day click. All right, if you were doing something like if you had a photo booth company like I used to have, and you have a sales cycle that takes longer, it's not a 1-day window because it's a bigger purchase and people need more information, and it's generally something that they purchase after 7 days. Then you want to set it to a longer conversion window, because what Facebook is going to do is it's going to track that person and it's going to see when they purchase. All right. And it's going to take your ideal sales cycle and it's going to optimize based on that. So if you have a conversion window of 7 days, but you're selling a dog collar, and that's not going to give Facebook the right results, because if you want to get that dog collar to its peak performance would be to have people clicking and buying all within 1 day, not within 7 days. So I hope that makes sense. It's a little bit of a nuance, but everything, 99% of e-commerce products, you want it set to a 1-day click, all right? Because that's what you're trying to optimize for. So you want Facebook to take those ideal sales. Every time there is a 1-day click purchase, that's what Facebook is going to look at and say, yep, that's what it's supposed to be. That's what I want. So I'm going to optimize off of that purchase, all right? So 1-day click. And then that's for automatic or manual, okay? And then when you get down to the bid amount, here's where we select manual. And then you can see that here's a little drop-down menu. You want to set this to maximum. And then suggested bid, they give you what I've been doing, and this was a suggestion that I just read from somebody very credible in the e-commerce industry, is started at $40. All right? Now, you're not going to spend $40 per purchase. And I can tell you that from experience, because here's the first day that I did it. All right. I set it at $100 daily with a $40 purchase. Now you can see my cost per purchase did jump a little bit higher on this. Okay. It did jump $4 higher, but number one, again, remember, Facebook's not tracking exactly everything that happened that day as far as sales. And then number two, it's still, I'm just pointing that out because number one, that's still within my profit margin, and that dropped over time. I think the next day, you can see the next day it dropped to 920, and then I didn't get any sales on this bottom one. So sometimes days fluctuate, all right, with people, we get into this habit of thinking if we just do the ads right, we'll always get sales, and that's not necessarily true. Things fluctuate. That's why you want to look at it over a time period. But for this, you can see it dropped, and I had it set to $40. So what I did though, actually over the 2-day period here, is I started at 40 to get the traffic coming in. I was getting sales at a rate where I'm profitable. Like I said, I have a $17 profit margin on these items, or $16 profit margin. So I'm still profitable here by $5.50, and probably a little bit more than that because I probably had some more purchases or some double item orders in here. But the next day, I dropped my bid down to $35. All right, so you can, when you're manual bidding, you can change your bid in real time without messing with the optimization. All right, all this does here when you set your maximum bid per purchase is this is giving Facebook an indicator and saying big spender over here. All right, this is not, that's why you set it to maximum. That's the maximum I'm willing to spend. That's what I'm telling Facebook. Now, obviously, I don't want to spend $40 per purchase, and I know it's never going to cost me $40 per purchase to get this traffic, but this is going to give Facebook a signal of saying, whoa, send this guy traffic immediately because he's a big spender. All right, that's the logic behind this. And then you can bring your manual bid down as you go, and it doesn't actually mess with your optimization. So at any point in time, I can come in here, and what I did the next morning is I dropped my manual bid to $35. And that's kind of what I've been playing with and testing over these past couple of days, is just seeing how my sales, and that's honestly, that's how I messed my ads up yesterday, because I didn't realize what I was doing. But that's how I've been just kind of testing to see with the manual bidding what happens as you switch that manual bid around. So you're going to optimize for purchase. Just finish writing these notes in here. Okay. The thing with manual bidding in the beginning is you're going to want to do it on a day where you can like be right there and watch your purchases, because it can run away quickly. All right. Now there's another thought to this that somebody that Terrell actually shared in the group. And I know he's been doing, he's been killing it. So another thought to this, but you kind of have to have been running your ad long enough to know. The other thought is that if you know what your cost per purchase is, you can take your average, double it, and set that as your max bid. So I want to give you both things that you can test. I just started testing this. So, I don't necessarily have definitive answers on which works better yet, but, alternate method. All right, and the theory here is that the numbers don't lie. So if Facebook is out there on auto bid getting you a lot of purchases, then you already know what your average cost per purchase is going to be, and you want to take that number and double it. And the reason you double it again is because you're doing it as your maximum bid. All right, so you're setting your maximum bid higher than what the actual purchase is, so that Facebook is favoring you when it comes to winning those auctions. If you remember how, or maybe you don't know this at all, the way that the bid system works with Facebook, whether it's auto or manual, is that Facebook is constantly auctioning every single ad that's out there based on the audience that it's meant to be shown to. So looking at things like your relevance score and, how much money you're willing to bid and who you're targeting, what your CPM is, Facebook will take all of that, and every single time, like happening without us even realizing it in real time, there are auctions happening where us against other advertisers are bidding against each other, and whoever wins that bid gets their ad shown to that person. All right. So manual bidding, the idea is you want to bid a little bit higher, so that you are telling Facebook you want to win that auction, and Facebook is going to favor you, but it's still going to give you that average bid price because you're setting it as your maximum, right? So you're still going to get a much lower cost, but you are letting Facebook know what you're willing to spend, so they're favoring your bid. Okay, so that's the strategy right here, guys. And this alone, I'm going to finish up showing you how this worked. But this here is what allowed me to do that. All right, that's what that spike was in those numbers, is being able to test for 3 to 4 days on just the auto bid, $5-10 a day, see how it goes, and then when it does well, I opened up these $100 manual bids, and it just it boosted my sales that much more. All right, so let's go back and now look at another example. of the same thing. So basically, I was testing, like you can see here, I'm testing multiple ads. Right now, a lot of these are still really early, okay? But with all of these, I'm probably going to test, like with this one for sure, where I've got 6 purchases really low. With this one for sure, 7 purchases really low. This one for sure, this one for sure. Like all of these ones where my conversion cost on my cost per purchase is really low. I'm going to be doing the same exact strategy, which is why I know I'm going to get to 2K days. Even if yesterday was a slight drop in sales, I know I'm going to get back up to 2K days because I still have products in the works that have not yet come into their full scaling cycle. So these ones are still, and then even these ones up here, a lot of these I haven't even broken into the lookalike yet. With this one, I did break into the lookalike. This lookalike is over 1 million people, and I just started running it. So, like, if you look at my delivery on these, still really, really young. Okay, I have a lot of room to scale both of these. My CPM is great, and so I'm going to be able to make a lot of money off of both of these ads over the next, this month. Okay, and then that's the next one here we'll look at. Now, this one I've been testing quite a few things, and you're going to get to see this like in the works of how it actually is happening. Because this one, this is a good example of just because you have a product that's selling doesn't necessarily mean moving into a manual bidding is just going to be like a magic solution to start bringing you in sales. It still matters on that product audience match because, let's look at yesterday, man. Yesterday I was messing around with this and I was having some issues with these ads yesterday. All right. So I just want to show you this, okay? Because
I couldn't find that topic on Wikipedia.
Alexa in the background. All right. So let's take it back. Let's take it back actually and look at this time period and then move into that. Okay? I think that makes more sense. All right, so here we go. So here's the whole view of that leading up into yesterday. So leading up into that big sale day, I mean, you can see that I'm under $10 cost per purchase on both of them. So right away, I knew from this ad that I wasn't necessarily already getting great cost per purchase on this conversion ad. So I knew that my manual bidding may jump a little bit, but it actually stayed pretty even, and that was good because it allowed me to scale much quicker. Where like with this auto bid ad, I'm already at a pretty high cost per purchase with where I'm at. This may get to the point where I can't scale it anymore, like where it's at right now. As a matter of fact, I'm going to drop this to $10 because my cost per purchase is rising too quickly on that. All right. Because if you look at what happened yesterday, I didn't even, yesterday well, there you go. I just made a mistake while I'm recording this. That's why you want to check your stuff in different time periods, because yesterday you can see I did awesome. Yesterday I had 4 purchases on that ad set that I just dropped to $10, and I should have kept it at $5. I mean, it's not going to hurt me other than it's just going to mean less money. It's going to slow my ad down, and now I got to wait another 2 to 3 days before I can scale it back up. But anyway, so I did the same thing with this ad. I tested it here on 21 plus purchase conversion, just regular targeting on my precise interests, okay? And I looked at it over a period of the first couple of days here. So I was testing this ad, and that's where, that's what I had moving into it. And so I looked at it and I said, okay, great link clicks, great cost. I mean, not great cost per purchase, but good. And really with this one, it was a lot had to do with the audience. I knew I had a big audience, and so I knew I really wanted to test manual bidding on this product. I had a good feeling about it, even though my cost per purchase here was a little bit higher than I would have liked it to be. You can see I decided to test a couple of things here. You can only see the tail end of it, but this is a layered ad where I did some flex targeting, big interest, and used them together to narrow it. And then this was a lookalike that I just started, I think, yesterday. And so on Friday, I decided to start that manual bid, and then like wait, what? Why is it not showing? I know I started that on Friday. I don't know why it's not showing it. But anyway, so here you go on Saturday. I started the manual bid, very similar to what you saw with the other product from the first day. I started it at $40, and right out the gate, it jumped out and got me 7 purchases. But the cost per purchase was a little bit higher on this one. And then on the 30th, cost per purchase lowered down a little bit. And then this ad started to be kind of weak over the weekend. And then moving into yesterday, for some reason, it ended up doing amazing. But then this ad started. So, like, you know, I'm watching things, and I guess one example you can take from what I'm doing is not to micromanage your stuff too much, but like with this manual bidding ad, you know, you want to watch it because yesterday the cost got really high for some reason, where it only got 4 purchases, but it was still sending me a lot of traffic and spending all of my money, but my link clicks kind of skyrocketed. And I looked at it, you know, I said, okay, well, yesterday was bad, and I decided to look at it over the full period, including yesterday. And even with that, I said, all right, my cost per purchases has gotten too high. You know, it's at $12 now. So I was like, that's just too high. And I wanted to change it. And what I looked at here is I looked at the breakdown of the age and gender. A lot of times I'll look at both, but I can already tell you because I looked at it is I noticed with this one that all of my purchases came from a certain age group and above. And then if I look at just these 2 age groups, that's where my purchases really were. 45 to 64, I was averaging a $9 cost per purchase. That's where Facebook was spending the majority of my money. Everything else was starting to get really high for my cost per purchase, or no purchases at all. And so what I came back and did then, and I started the test for today. I just started this ad last night. Is I looked at my lookalike here for the lookalike's something new that I'm testing. This got all confused. All right, so here's my ad that's the $10 that's running here. Here's a new. When did I start running this? April 29th. Okay, so all right, so here is let me get this set right. All right, so here's this one. It's at $11.85 cost per purchase. I'm just letting it see what happens. And then this is the auto bid one that's still running good. And then this is one that I just started. Like, I don't know. So with the manual bidding, guys, I guess this is a good example of showing you I'm getting kind of confused as I'm looking at this because you got to keep track of what you're doing. And manual bidding isn't necessarily going to be like a solution that just helps you make money on products. You know, the product already, like I said, the product has to be already something that's a winning product. All right, I clearly have to go in here and I'll tell you what I'm going to do so I can make this a little bit more clear of what's going on. Let's take a look at, you know, when I really want to look at the decision I should make, I take the full amount of time that it's been running. All right, and right now, what I can see is that this has already spent $27. It's getting horrible link clicks. That needs to be turned off. All right, and now I have these two, and I'm going to just let these run today and see how that happens. So that was my lookalike that did horrible. I don't know why my lookalike was doing so bad, but I can go back and revisit that. I can wait till I get some more link clicks here. I can wait till maybe I stack up some more purchases and go back and try to redo my lookalike based off of different metrics. But right now I'm probably just going to let these run, see if I can get this to come down a little bit. Because when I did it and I tried to scale, like I looked at this one and I tried to see the age range, and this is the one where the age range was like right here is where I'm getting all my sales. But then when I tried to start an ad set that was just that age range, it didn't perform very well. So again, there's still some nuances to this that you got to figure out, and you got to be monitoring your ads. But hopefully that was helpful and not confusing, because I know there was a lot of stuff that I just went over there. Now let's look at this one. This is the last one that I did with the manual bidding, and I actually turned my stuff off yesterday because it stopped spending my money for some reason. Yesterday, you can see, like on this one, it didn't even spend any money. I don't understand why. And then on this one, I got one purchase, and I accidentally turned it off. All right, so I'm starting a new one again today. But if we go back to the time period, and let's look at this and show you again, just trying to show you how I was able to scale into what I was able to do last week. All right. So I had my original ad here running again, probably $5-10, and that's still doing well. That was doing well all week. It had a low cost per purchase. So if we look at the beginning of the week there, what I was looking at when I decided to scale is, here's what I saw. I saw that I had 7 purchases already at under $4 a purchase. Great CPC. So I said, all right, next day what I'm going to do is start that manual bidding ad. Next day started it with, again, what you're looking at, $100 daily, $40 maximum bid. And then right out the gate, this was still performing well. 8 purchases. And then next day, same thing. Next day had 10 purchases. It kept coming down a little bit. This was just doing well as an ad in general. And then on Sunday, the day that I had that big day, it's showing that my purchases weren't. It's showing, I don't know. So that's why sometimes it's really weird. Like it only spent $3.47 on Sunday. Yeah, I mean, I still had an amazing day, obviously, from my other ad sets. It only spent $3.47. And then yesterday it didn't spend money, so that's why I ended up changing it up. So everything else in here is basically from auto bid. So all of these are still auto bid. And then if we're looking at that, here's one that on auto bid, these are able to pull me in 10, 7, 6. Like I'm getting sales on these on auto bids still, and I'm testing them. And then I was switching out a lot of engagement ads with conversion ads in between there. And then now it's getting into this week, I'm going to be doing the same thing. Same type of strategy where I'm going to be testing the auto bids here at the beginning of the week, switching stuff out and moving everything, all my best performing ad sets, I'm going to be moving into manual bidding ads and testing them. With the ad here, I can tell you exactly what I'm going to do today. Is I have nothing running right now. So I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to duplicate it as a manual bidding ad and just start it over again. I'm going to do the same thing over here with the one that I was just showing you before, where I already did do that. That's what this is. So I'm going to let that run today and see what happens. All right. And then on these other ones that are already performing really well, from whatever day they started, some of them didn't start that long ago, but for all these other ones that are doing really well here, 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 basically all of these, this one, this one, you know, all of those are going to end up being manual bidding ads as well. And then some of these down here, these are ones I killed. These are ones that are no longer active. So that's everything, really. I mean, I think I covered everything. Like, I really wanted to, you know, I went over looking at the ads, the overall strategy that I'm using, the notes that I still use, how I judge winners and losers, how I do auto bidding to test the ads for the first 2 to 3 days on the conversions, using the 1-day conversion, 1-day click window, what that means, the different conversion types and how I generally move through them. And then now the new manual bidding strategy that I'm using, how I set that up right here, the new manual bidding strategy that I'm using. Basically my new ad strategy, really, how I'm starting with auto bid, you know, and then if it's a winner, duplicating it into a manual bidding. Building my lookalike audiences, all right, definitely still something I'm doing. I have my custom audiences building on every winning product. And so as soon as, you know, some of these products are hitting enough view contents to create a lookalike, I'm creating that lookalike. The more view contents you have, the stronger your lookalike's going to be. Sometimes I'll wait a little bit if the original ad set's performing well enough. If it's not performing all that well, or it's a really small audience, I'll try to pull that lookalike out as soon as I can. And then after lookalike is, of course, going into broad audiences, doing the same thing. And then I do have my retargeting and my abandonment protector. I'm still using both of those. So they are pulling in sales as well. You know, that again is stuff that's not necessarily being tracked in here, because I may get the traffic today and it may become a sale tomorrow for some of that retargeting and those abandonment protectors. So, you know, that's why the numbers are a little bit higher. My cost per purchase is, because overall, I just want to know my cost per purchase. You know, I don't care if the sale came from the ad yesterday or the ad today, because I'm looking at it in a time period. And so I just want to know how many were sold in that time period. And so the abandonment protector and the retargeting app are absolutely still really, really helping me, and, you know, absolutely essential apps, I think, for being able to run a profitable store and make sure you're making as much money as possible. So I hope you guys got a lot of value from that video. I know that this has been like an hour-and-a-half video, true to, I guess, Nick Peroni's style. You know, my videos tend to go a little bit long, but it's just because, you know, number one, I like making sure there's context and transparency, and that you understand, you know, I'm not just throwing numbers out there with no meaning. And so that's what the beginning of the video was about. And then really, I hope that you feel that you got a lot. I mean, I really went in, I didn't show you my products, I didn't show you the actual store, but I mean, I showed you all my numbers here. I showed you exactly what I'm doing, exactly what my numbers look like, including ads that have failed, why they failed, why I killed them. It's really pretty simple, guys. If you're getting great engagement but no CPC, that means your audience is interested but not interested in buying. If you're getting great engagement and great CPC and a low CPM, then you want to run that ad as long as you can to see if you're getting purchases. If you get to $10, $15 and you have no purchases yet, then it's time to try your targeting again, or it's time to start lowering the price. And if neither of those help, then it's time to move on, because you can get great CPC and no purchases. It does happen. All right, so, you know, and if you're getting great CPC and you have enough to build a lookalike audience and you're only getting a purchase or two on the original audience, then build that lookalike as soon as possible, move into the lookalike and see if that performs better for you than the original one. All right, but there's really no, you know, you just want to test until you have enough to realize whether or not it's going to be a winner. If you get the $15 in sales, or if you get the $15 in spend and you don't have a sale or two yet, then it's not going to be a winner. I mean, generally, if you get to $10 in sales and you don't have a winner, you might as well turn that ad off unless, let's just say $15. 3 days is really, and I've been doing a lot of course studies. I've been reading a lot. Most people are still doing that as a way to test their ads. They're spending spending $10 to $15 over a 2 to 3 day period to test an ad and see how it does. Sometimes a 3 to 4 day period, because some people swear that after 3 days of optimization, an ad really kicks in and starts to optimize. But for me, I don't like to play the risk. Generally, I can tell if an ad's winning within the first $15. If it doesn't have a purchase within the first $15, very, very, very rare. Never am I going to run an ad that doesn't get a sale within the first $15. Like, it's just not going to happen. You can see here plenty of ads that I've had a sale on that I tried to let run past $15 to see if, they'd get another sale, and they don't. So, generally it's not going to come down. And so I'm looking for those winners that are kind of showing themselves as winners right out the gate. Here's an example of a conversions ad that is getting great CPC, but it's only had one add to cart by $8.39 spent. Like, if this doesn't get a sale today, then I'm going to have to turn this ad off. That's the way that I look at it. Even though it's got great CPC, I'm not going to let that keep running because, maybe I need to lower the price. Maybe I need to try something different. But if my price is where my price needs to be and I can't lower it anymore without compromising my profit margin to make it a profitable ad, then I'm just going to cut it off and move on. All right. So that's everything, guys. This really is the stuff. Remember that product is still king. All right. Product is absolutely still king. But this strategy here, this document, this text document here, you can take this and, maybe I'll put this in the comments of the video or something. And eventually I'm going to redo the videos. Well, not necessarily redo them, but update some of the videos in the in my Ecom Empire site. But with this strategy, using this same strategy, of course, to test your original ads, like this testing phase here, still exactly what I do. All this information here is absolutely gold for you. And it's kind of standard too for, what most successful e-commerce entrepreneurs are doing. And then building your custom audiences. This is all about scaling auto bids though. So everything that I've had in here up until this point, till this video, has always been scaling with auto bids. And all of this stuff works, all right? This is the stuff that has all worked for me up to $30,000 in a week in sales, all right? Because my strategy is generally lots or multiple winning products that scale gradually, as opposed to one winning product that you scale aggressively and try to make a lot of money out of. So this all works, if you have multiple winning products doing $20, $30 a day, a couple different ad sets each, you can get to $30,000 in revenue. I mean, I think when I was doing that, I had like 15 winning products that were probably running at about, I don't know, 2 ad sets, maybe $20 each. So, you're looking at $600 to $800 in ad spend in a day. That was bringing me in, like $3 to $4 grand a day in sales, which was bringing me in, upwards of 25 to 30 grand a week, or whatever that was in one of my best months, which was towards the end of last year. So all that stuff still works, but the manual bidding lets you scale aggressively and lets you scale quickly if you use this little strategy here when you have a winning ad set, and then you just duplicate it to a manual bid right away, and then test both of these here. Test both of these ideas where you can start at $40, and this is a guaranteed way to start getting traffic quickly, and then you can kind of lower your bid from there if you think that the cost per purchase is too high. Or you can start here and understand, though, this way, if you take your average purchase price and then double it and set that as your max bid. So say, if I was doing that with this one here, right, my average cost per purchase here is $4.54. So I would, just round that to $9, multiply it by 2, it's $9. and then test that as a manual bid, that may or may not. I may have to, if I'm not getting any traffic at $10, then I'll start raising it. Maybe I'll bump it to $12 and then the 14 and then the 16 and just bump it $2 until I find a sweet spot where traffic starts coming in and I start getting sales. And that's generally how manual bids work, guys. It's not very difficult at all. If you have a winning product, you're just setting up a manual bid, larger daily budget on that product, and you want to set your bid as maximum, and then just watch it one day click, and you should be all right. So I hope that we get some people testing this out, and then some case studies and some testimonials and some success stories that come from this, because I'd love to see people be able to duplicate this kind of thing in their business. All right, that's everything I have for you. The last thing I want to mention for people that have made it all the way through the video, in the following days leading up to next week, for the rest of this week, I should have just said the following days, the rest of this week, I have some exciting, like probably the most exciting, I would say definitely top 3 most exciting things that I think is going to happen in this group this year is going to be announced. So that's coming. I will be announcing that over the rest of the week. It's a webinar that I've finally been able to secure for this group that is extremely special access. I've been pounding on the doors of this guy to be able to get this webinar, and so I'm going to be announcing that, and that is something that is going to be, I think, tremendous value to the people in this group.